Good evening and welcome to this regular session of the Grant County Council. Tonight, the prayer will be led by Mr. Connor with a pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Perez. If you would stand, please.
I invite you to bow your head and pray with me. Heavenly Father, we have lots on our mind these days. I want to start by thanking you for protecting former President Trump from assassination. Your hand was truly at work there. But we pray not only for him, but all elected officials, Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. Color doesn't matter. Creed doesn't matter. But those who put their hat in the ring and choose to serve the public, we just pray for your hedge of protection. Cool our tongues, let us be civil in our discussions with one another. And thank you especially for this body, because I think we live that meeting to meeting. Grant County is a special place, and we hope that you'll continue to be with us as we conduct the people's business as you would have us do and see fit. It's in your Son's name I pray, for his sake. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you would, go ahead and do the roll call, please.
Todd.
Mr. Scott did say he would not be here this evening.
Connor.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Perez.
Here.
Poling. Lemming.
Mr. Lemming did reach out as well, and he would not be here this evening as well.
Middlesworth.
Here. We do have a quorum, though. Thank you. Next item is the auditor's report.
You currently have our updated general fund balance along with the updated insurance fund. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions or concerns on your behalf or the members' behalf? If there's no questions, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. The first set of minutes for approval is the executive session of June the 12th, 2024. Are there any errors or corrections that need to be addressed in the minutes?
Approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Perez. Did I hear that correctly? To approve the Grant County Council executive session minutes from June the 12th, 2024. Are there any questions or comments from the members? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. Next up for approval is the minutes from the regular session of June the 12th, 2024. Are there any corrections that need to be addressed in those minutes? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion.
A motion to approve the regular session minutes of June 12th.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Poling to approve the Grant County Council regular session minutes from June the 12th, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Minutes are approved. We'll move on to new business. The first item under new business, Grant County Circuit Court, Mark Spitzer, with an additional appropriation regarding the county general fund. If you recall, I believe last month he was before us and said he would not be here this evening, but we can go ahead and suspend the rules and approve his request. It's an additional appropriation within the general fund, and it was $30,000, correct? And it's a additional appropriation for per diem, an amount of $30,000. If there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to suspend the rules so that we can pass this in session tonight.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
I have a second. I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Poling to suspend the county council rules. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Connor,
Yes.
Poling,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Perez,
Aye.
Middleton.
Yes, and I'll just give a little note here. Our rules are, I believe, $500. Anything over $500, you'd have to appear before us making the request. So this body has suspended the rules that allow Mr. Spitzer not to be here to make this request. At this time, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the additional appropriation for the $30,000 for per diem.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Poling to go ahead and approve the additional appropriation within the Grant County General Fund in the amount of $30,000 line item per diem. Are there any other comments or questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Connor,
Yes.
Poling,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Perez,
Aye.
Middleton.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item under new business, item B, Grant County Surveyor Jim Todd with a transfer of appropriation regarding the county general fund. Mr. Todd with us this evening? Is he online?
It's under $500.
Is it? I didn't know. You don't even hear that. The request is a transfer of $100 from Garage and Motors to the office supply account. If there's no questions from the members, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Poling, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the transfer from Garage and Motors in the amount of $100 to the supply account within the county surveyor's fund. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Poling,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Perez,
Aye.
Middleton.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item under new business, item C, Grant County Highway Department, David White with transfers of appropriation within the MVH restricted fund. Transfers of appropriation again within the MVH fund, 1176, and transfers of appropriation within the Cumulative Bridge Fund, 1135. Mr. White here. Did he have any conversation with you this evening?
I have not.
Are we not
He was
aware?
in earlier today and said he'd be here.
Okay.
Move to table that for the time being, see if he shows up.
All right. I have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Poling to go ahead and table the MVH transfers unless he shows up. Any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Connor,
Yes.
Poling,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
I can text him.
Okay, motion carries. It's tabled unless he shows, right? I guess that concludes the new business. We'll move on to old business. Grant County Sheriff Del Garcia, a salary ordinance amendment, county general fund. I know the sheriff couldn't be here this evening, but we have Mr. J.K. here. Good evening.
Mr. President, members of council, yes, the sheriff couldn't be here tonight, or neither could Director Cameron. They're at the Sheriff's Association conference this week. We emailed out this morning, then I dropped off a packet that Director Cameron's put together about the additional transports and stuff going on now with inmates out in the county, and I believe the sheriff spoke about it last council meeting. So here, maybe try to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions or comments regarding this request? I know at the last meeting, we did table the issue, allow the council's union committee to meet. Myself, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Poling did meet. Obviously, the chairman couldn't be here this evening, Mr. Scott. We did review the request. I'm going to read what the chairman was going to say this evening here. Give me a second. As far as the council's committee's recommendation in regards to hiring a full-time transport deputy within the Grant County Sheriff's Department, this committee recommends not allowing this request. In the view of this committee, the position is not a permanent hire, as the need for placing inmates into other county facilities should hopefully lessen over the next few months and eventually be used in emergency situations. With new leadership coming into office in the next 6 months, we believe we should wait for the leadership to take action and collaborate together to examine the needs of the jail and any possibilities of reducing the inmate population. However, and this would be my personal opinion, not the committee's opinion, but I know that you have one position, I believe, in the jail that's not filled. And I think that we would entertain reclassifying a position if need be.
Okay, well, I'll share that with the sheriff.
But I mean, I'll open at this time the floor to the members for questions or comments.
Captain, I know we did it last month, but for the sheriff did, but do you want to speak on behalf of the department again? For the sake of, and for your sake in making a case for the position again?
Repeat, please.
Do you want to make your case? We did it last month, obviously the sheriff did, but obviously.
Well, obviously, the directors put together a number of transports that we do. We have one full-time deputy in the jail that does transport. We do supplement it with some additional deputies, special deputy and reserve. Deputy Dotson does a majority of the other transports out of county. And he does that part-time, sometimes as a special deputy, and then sometimes as a reserve deputy on a volunteer basis, where he gets some of his hours and stuff in. So with this, obviously we have several inmates out of county at this time, and that just adds 2 additional transports. So your fluctuation sometimes within the jail and the numbers within the jail allows you to, sometimes have people who can do transports, and a lot of times we do supplement those local transports to doctor's offices and things like that with some deputies that have other duties also, and they will do that. It would just be a advantage to have 2 full-time deputies dedicated to the transports.
I'm on the community corrections, and the sheriff said you guys were gonna make these detention deputies, special deputies, so they could transport.
That's what we're doing with a lot of the jail deputies. We do have RN special deputies roles, and that's who is doing most all the transports, yes.
Yeah, again, I'll circle back.
But not all deputies, detention deputies, or special deputies.
Right.
They haven't went through the training.
Yeah, maybe something to consider is, reclassifying maybe one of the jailer positions to do the transports, if that's something maybe you take back to the sheriff and discuss.
So that's something I'll take back to the sheriff.
Yeah, it's showing, I think, just 1 vacancy, which is, that's incredible.
That'll always fluctuate. I mean, it's fluctuated since, I think, under the sheriff's administration, started out, I think it was 19 understaffed in the jail. I don't think we got full staff until June of last year. Since June of last year, I mean, you have fluctuation up and down, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think we are down 1 now, but also potentially have 2 running for a merit position. So we have to look at that too. So it's been up and down to 3 at a time, maybe understaffed.
If there's any questions or comments from the members? If there's no other questions, is there a motion?
I make a motion what the president of the council, or the commission said, Mike, to not approve it.
Or we wouldn't have to do anything then, but we need a.
Only thing is, I don't think you can make a motion to the negative.
Yeah.
It would just be, no offense, but just, it would either die for lack of a motion or a motion to be made and then voted down.
Yeah, no motion is, no motion.
I'd be tempted to make the motion, but I think that's why we have a committee to examine it, so I would defer to the committee.
Okay, I'm not hearing a motion, so I would go back to the sheriff and see about maybe reclassifying.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did Mr. White show up?
Yeah.
Mr. Clickfield, do we need to untable it, or since it was in our motion that he was here?
Probably not, but it never hurts.
And my motion was to table it unless he shows up, so.
Okay, our next item before us, well, we'll move back to new business, Grant County Highway, David White, transfers of appropriation within the MVH restricted fund, MVH regular fund, and the cumulative bridge fund. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry about that, I was late. First thing I have was the MVH restricted, 5,000 from bituminous line item to road signs.
Yes, please, if you would.
And the next one is from 60,000 from MVH Fund 1176, 60,000 from calcium chloride or salt to garage and motor. And then the last is from the bridge fund, 100,000 from Bridge 84 to Bridge 791, and 75,000 from Bridge 84 to Bridge 138. Just to update you a little bit on those 2 line items there at the last. That was a bridge that we just bid out on 38th Street. It came in a little under budget, so the other 2 bridges have started on design work, and I would just like to move money over to finish paying for that.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the highway director's request? If there are none, I entertain a motion.
Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Perez, a second from Mr. Connor to approve within the Grant County Highway Department the following transfers. The MVH restricted fund 1173, 5,000 from bituminous to road signs. Within MVH fund 1176, 60,000 from calcium chloride to garage and motors. And then again within 1135, the cumulative bridge fund, 100,000 from Bridge 84 to Bridge 791, and 75,000 from Bridge 84 to Bridge 138. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Perez.
Aye.
Connor.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Poling.
Yes.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Transfers are approved.
Would I be able to ask a request?
No, it was late. Yeah, go ahead. What's
This
the
is
request?
a financial, financial approval. We're trying for a community crossing grant again, round 2 for 2024. The first round, we only used $1.2 million of the project. We can go up to $1.5 million. So we got about $300,000 we'd like to go to ask for, and then we'll have to match that. So I just bring at the commissioner's approval, I'd like to have the council's approval. If we do get awarded, we'll make sure we have the funding to pay for the project. So.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members? The request would be to go ahead and approve the community crossing matching grant if he was awarded it. When you're saying the amount's $300,000?
Right, yeah, that we can apply for.
So we'll be approving application for it. We're not actually dispersing funds yet.
Yeah, we're just saying that we will have.
It's a
funding
commitment
if we
letter.
do get awarded.
Okay.
We're agreeing to our 300,000 being 600,000 awarded.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say the 300,000 actually means $600,000 worth of work. So.
And what do we think we'd be using this for?
We might get it in the end of this year, but it'll probably be for next year in 2025 bill.
For?
I've got 2 aluminum boxes I'm looking at and some repaving, so.
I think we want to get as much of that community crossing money as we can. I know it's really helped Jonesboro. We've gotten some over there. And
Like I said, with the first round, we was awarded almost $1.2 million after bids and stuff, so.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Perez to go ahead and approve the community crossing match grant fund and allow me to go ahead and sign the financial commitment letter. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Connor.
Yes.
Perez.
Aye.
Higgs.
Yes.
Poling.
Yes.
Spitzer.
Yes. Motion carries.
Thanks, Ed.
You can get this at the end.
It comes out of your pocket. It's your fault.
Thanks, Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
I believe that's all new business and old business. Angie, do you have anything to add? Committee reports. I will say, I'll go ahead and get into this a little bit. Myself and Mr. Scott met with Mr. Glickfield a couple weeks ago regarding Mr. Glancy's information. Would you just go ahead and, Mr. Glickfield, fill us in what the conversation was?
Yes, I'll be happy to do that. Mr. Glancy had questioned the process of the appointment of precinct committeemen. In other words, precinct committeemen who do not run for office. The chairman, by law, has the right to appoint those precinct committeemen. And there was an issue that came up on whether those records of appointment needed to be kept by the clerk or not and made public. So we met to discuss that particular issue. That's a synopsis of.
And at that time, I went ahead and put Mr. Glancy on the agenda to give him the opportunity to address this body, which was your advisement. Obviously, it does say public comment, and I think we're prepared to take public comment and allow Mr. Glancy to speak, but we won't have any action to take this evening.
No, do you want me to discuss the part of the statute about the council and the commissioners taking action on?
Yes, would you do that?
In the statute, there is language that allows the council and commissioners to take legal action if requested. In our discussions, it was decided that it was highly unlikely that the commissioners would not take action. So it was pointless for the council to really do anything because it requires both bodies to do that. In the meantime, I believe Mr. Clancy has went ahead and filed a lawsuit on his own anyway. So there's really, once that's happened, there's really not much that the council could do statutorily now anyway.
Question, David, you had a double negative in there. I want to make sure I understand. You're saying it's unlikely that the commissioners would take action. I thought you said unlikely that they would not.
The statute contemplates the council and the commissioners taking action. In our discussions, the conclusion was it was unlikely the commissioners would take action. So it was not, it's pointless for, even if you took action, you can't do anything because the commissioners, it's unlikely they would. That helps.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask Mr. Glancy to come to the podium and
So I'm Todd Glancy. To clarify that a little bit more, after our meeting, I went back and read that statute again, and it said a person, I believe it says a person, or the council and the commissioners together can take this kind of action, which is to remove county employees, I think it's what it says, or elected officials or whatever, from office. This is not something I take very lightly. This is not the method I'd like to go about with that. I'll give you the whole packet of what I turned in for the case. But with the time range very short, I felt like that I was pressured into this as far as just from the timing standpoint and the progress that was being made from all the different avenues I was attempting. So I haven't like to go run through this when I prepare, and then I'll pass out my whole packet. So I stand before you today as a concerned citizen, deeply committed to ensuring the integrity of our electoral process. As you're all aware, the integrity of our national elections has been a matter of significant concern over the past decade. This concern reached a peak with the loss of 2 lives during the assassination attempt on President Trump. In this context, the need for transparency, accountability, and trust in our electoral system has never been more urgent. In our own county, a seemingly small yet crucial election, the GOP caucus for the position of county treasurer has raised significant concerns. This caucus, held on June 17, 2024, involved 44 voting precinct committeemen. Unfortunately, serious procedural issues have surfaced, notably the participation of appointed PCs who are ineligible to vote. This participation violated both Indiana Code 313.110C and GOP Rule 3-3. The necessary CAN 37 and IRSC/CA-1 forms were not properly filed, not properly, but they were not filed at the county level as public records, rendering the caucus results invalid. What this does is does not allow anyone, any public official or other precinct committeeman or a regular citizen to go in and verify that these appointed precinct committeemen were eligible to vote in that caucus. This issue is not isolated. It has broader implications for other appointed officials in our county, including the current county commissioner, a county councilman, and a state representative. Documents related to these officials were requested on July 9th of this year, and I was informed today that these documents are ready to pick up. While I have not yet had the chance to review them, the timing underscores the urgency of the situation. So basically, I wanted to, for those 3 officials, Jonathan, you're in that spot, I wanted to clear that. I wanted to make it clear. So I assumed everything would be okay. And I went into this whole verification process thinking everything was going to be okay. I just wanted to check. I have made numerous attempts to address these concerns through normal channels, contacting the election board, the GOP chairman, the state GOP. Despite these efforts, I have faced significant obstacles, including the stonewalling of my attempts to review forms and documents necessary to verify the caucus. It was just very simple. I just wanted to verify the caucus. Given the critical deadline of July 30th of this year for revisions to the November election, time is of the essence. My actions are guided by a desire to uphold the principles enshrined in our Constitution, which guarantees every one of us the right to ensure free and fair elections. And the other piece that might take just a little bit more time is the seriousness of having an invalid caucus produces an invalid treasurer, which then produces all kinds of issues, having an officer, a treasurer signing documents that's truly invalid. I'm making the assumption that that also makes those documents all invalid and those actions invalid, which then stirs up a whole other set of issues. Therefore, I respectfully request this council to adopt a resolution supporting my efforts to verify the recent GOP caucuses held on June 17th. This resolution is not merely about the particular caucus, but about reinforcing our commitment to transparency and the democratic process. By standing with me, you'll be standing for integrity of our elections and ensuring that every official holds their position lawfully and every citizen's vote is properly counted. Additionally, I urge the council to make every effort to request a repeat of the GOP caucus for the Grant County Treasurer. This action is essential to restore the trust and ensure that the election process is conducted fairly and within the bounds of the law. If my methods are not agreeable, I am open to alternative solutions that I can achieve the same goal, is to have a valid treasurer elected. I'm not asking the body to support the case that I filed. That is not what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for this, for the support and the resolution to be able to verify the recent GOP caucus. And I completely understand that people don't like the methods that I'm using. That I felt like the time is short. However, we must act swiftly to preserve the integrity of our electoral process and uphold the trust of our community. Thank you for your time and consideration, and let us work together to ensure that our elections are conducted with the utmost integrity and transparency. So at this point, I'd just like to hand this out, and if you'd like to ask any questions, that's fine. I'm kind of at the end of my rope here. I mean, I have several other things that I'm going to attempt to do. Things just need to be done before July 30th. So, again, I thank you for your time.
Any questions for Mr. Clancy?
And there's quite a bit of material here if you want to look through it. And my contact information is all over if you want to send me any kind of comments, whether
I got past his meal.
Okay. I got a couple extras here. If you think I'm off base, I like feedback, whether it's positive or negative, so long as it's constructive.
If there's no questions or comments, thank you, Mr. Clancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll go ahead and open for public comment. Come to the podium and state your name and your address, and I'll allow at least 3 minutes.
Jerry Souls, 3118, Marion, Mr. Clancy has
is absolutely right. Every time something is addressed to the county commissioners, the area planning commission, the BGA, so many different organizations, we as individuals and citizens get stonewalled. We get delayed, we get pushed back. Oh, we'll have an answer next week, we'll have an answer then. We never get an answer. And it's a shame that a private citizen has to bring a lawsuit to go to court to try to get something done that has been wrongfully done. Now, Mr. Bloomfield, prime example, the lawyer, he has promised me on different occasions that he would give me an answer on certain situations. I never get an answer. I have to go around about, and I find out, oh, your time's ran out. July the 30th is the deadline for this election. Are you just going to step back and let it continue to happen? That as private citizens get pushed around and don't get answers, whether it's yes or no, or right or wrong, we don't get an answer. Mr. Glancy's trying to do what's right. And all this corruption needs to be brought out in the open for everybody to see, instead of just hidden with 4 or 5 people decide that we're not going to discuss it. Now, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
I agree with Todd Glancy that
Go ahead and state your name.
my name's Ed Hartman.
Thank you.
I agree with Todd Glancy that this is a matter that requires swift action. It's just going to be too late, and there'll be another thing just kind of swept aside and forgotten. But that merits possibly a special meeting, if you would consider that. And it probably merits asking the commissioners if they would consider it, and not assuming that they would not. Because it sounds like there's an assumption that they will not. But really, if this body, this county council were to say, we think this needs looked into, would you join with us? And I think it would look poorly on their part if they decline. And, you know, there's some other things where I addressed this body once before about the recorder's office not recording leases according to state law. I asked for a Freedom of Information Act request, and I was turned down. That was a surprise. At first I was told, you'll have the information by January 26th. That was of this year. And then I got a letter on the 23rd saying, you're not going to get the information at all. But if you would like to go up to their office, you can look for it yourself. Well, someone had already done that and spent over a week of their time and didn't feel that they'd accomplished all of it because it was very hard to find them the way they had been just randomly filed, not according to state code, where they would all be in a miscellaneous file. I think it is important that we clean up some things that are not run according to state law in this county. And I don't think everybody has to go to court to get action that's appropriate for people that govern this county to take that action without being sued. It's just, that seems like an unnecessary burden for something that is obviously needs checked up on. So I would encourage you, if you have more questions, to get with Mr. Glancy, get with Mr. Solz, get with me. I've given you the information already. But if anyone else has any questions, I will try to answer them. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Pam Harris, and I just have a comment, Mr. Hartman. The job of the recorder, as the job of the clerk, is to protect and preserve those precious documents. Neither the recorder nor the clerk is licensed or bonded. If this is a matter of great importance, then we have searchers in the community who that's their job. They're trained, they're schooled, they know exactly what they're looking for, they know how to look for things. And that's what their job is, to go into those offices and find those. As far as things not being filed properly, you're mistaken. They are filed the way they are to be filed by statute, and to think that we are to go in and to look those documents up for an individual, that's not the job of the recorder. The job of the recorder is to record those documents properly, many times going through the auditor's office, because they're tied together with the deeds and property and how things are done, and then to store those and record those, and then store them properly so that they can be found and searched. But the recorder is not a searcher. If she misses something, then she can be sued. That's not her job to search. It's her job to provide a place, a safe place to keep those documents so that someone who needs to find those documents can come in and find them. If you can't find them, then you're more than welcome to bring someone in who is knowledgeable in that and will find them for you.
Who do we work, who do we work for?
We work for the county,
You work for who though?
for the people, and that's who you work for.
Yeah, exactly. The taxpayer.
Exactly.
And so does
Exactly.
you, so do you, so does the auditor, so does everybody.
But what I'm saying,
When somebody asks for help and the taxpayer's paying you guys, I mean, the taxpayer's paying all of us.
what I'm saying,
You got it.
you, like so many others, aren't listening.
Good.
You're not listening.
I just heard you say that.
Yes, you
Wait
did.
a minute, let me talk.
Do it,
We're not,
do it.
you work for the taxpayer. If a taxpayer comes up to an office and has a question, you get paid by the taxpayer. You should do your best to help that person. Should you not? This is not your own separate entity. The taxpayers pay every one of us. So we try to do our best to help them, not to discourage them. And what I'm hearing from you, you're trying to discourage people that you're telling them, no, this ain't her job. Well, sure it is. Taxpayers pay to be recorded, the taxpayers pay to be a councilman, the taxpayers be everything. We answer to the people, because they're the ones that put you there.
And you.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, but there again, like so many, you're not listening. The recorder is not licensed, she is not bonded. If she were to go in and try to search out something for you and miss something, then not only is that going to be detrimental to her, but detrimental to what you're needing. because
So
she
why
hasn't
are
provided.
we not bonded and licensed? I got bonded and a license.
We're not searchers, we're not trained
So
to
what you're
search.
saying is all we need to do is have a bond to help these people, so people can help these people. That's what you're telling me.
What I'm telling you is the recorder is not bonded.
Okay. Okay.
So if she misses something,
I
that's
understand what
gonna
you're
hurt
saying.
you.
I understand what you're
I don't
saying.
think you are, but like so many, you hear what you want to hear. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Beth Plank, Swayze, Indiana. I think it's ironic that the election board, it handled the precinct committeeman situation the way they did when there were candidates that filed forms be a precinct committeeman, and those people were rejected by the very board that didn't handle, it sounds to me like, didn't handle this situation correctly. That's what concerns me as a citizen and a taxpayer. Where is the oversight? Where is the accountability? And as we've become more involved and we've learned more, we're questioning that accountability, that responsibility to the citizens, to the taxpayers. You can't handle one situation the way you want to and handle another situation differently. I was appalled with how Dallas Street was treated. This is a veteran serving our country overseas on the battlefield in combat. And he wants to come back and give to our community, and we don't allow him to because of a form or something that, to me, it makes no sense. It's just unfair. And that concerns me as a citizen, that then we have citizens that have to file a lawsuit. What are we doing? Are we not trying to, we're all trying to work together. And I think of Dallas, he comes back after serving his country and he wants to serve our community. We go, no, you didn't do it the right way. And now we have a caucus that didn't do it the right way, and we're just gonna say, oh, well. So as a citizen, I am concerned about that. And the more I have learned, the more that I have attended and seen, I wonder, is there accountability? Is there responsibility? And does it make a difference to elected officials that we as citizens we're smarter than what I think we're being given credit for? So please, help us as citizens feel more comfortable with local elected officials, the processes, everything that's happening, because we want to be a part of it and we want to help. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we were only going to allow you to speak one time this evening. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and state your name and
I, Bill
your
Creech,
address.
1409 Ironwood in Marion. You know, I didn't know anything about local politics about 6 months ago. Then I started going to some of the meetings and looking at a lot of the different things and meeting some of the people who work on it, and I really appreciate people that give their time to do that. I really do. And then I started kind of digging into it a little bit more, and what I saw was a lot of the same people are in positions and then are on other committees. So what we have to be really careful of is committing to a good old boys club. And I think if you're not careful, you may have created it, in some cases, and maybe in this case, created an echo chamber. You hear what you want to hear. And I'm not saying you, I'm saying in that process, and you put your preferences forward, and maybe we stretched this a little bit, or we didn't pay attention to this because it's something that we wanted. And that's not right. And what I asked you to do is to look at Mr. Glancy's request and look at it and make sure we didn't get outside the guardrails. Because that's what I'm afraid that we're doing, and it's easy to do. It's easy to do, it's easy to be influenced, it's easy to let your guard down. And also in some of it, it may just be a lack of information, a lack of how the process was supposed to work. But that doesn't excuse whether or not it was legitimately done or not done, or some of the actions that take place. So I really hope that we go out and we look at this from an open perspective, not with a preconception of right or wrong or anything. It's, how was this conducted? Can we fix it? And how could we maybe make it better in the future to avoid this? And that's all that I really want to say about it. I hope you look into it and come to the best solution, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Here.
Can I make one more comment?
I'm only going to allow you to speak one time this evening.
Okay, Julie Hartman, 1050 on Fairmount. And this is the state code regarding the recorder's office. I see 3231-2, necessity of recording. Not more than 45 days after its execution, a lease of real estate for a period of longer than 3 years shall be recorded in the miscellaneous record in the recorder's office of the county in which the real estate is located. But instead, these were randomly lost and scattered and impossible to find.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Thank you.
If there are none, is there any questions or comments from the members this evening? Mr. Glenfield, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I have lots of mine.
I know.
I don't know.
I mean,
There's many issues that have been brought up. You always got to remember that you have a specific focus as a county council. You're the fiscal body of county government. You're not the executive branch. You're not the legislative branch. You're just the fiscal, you're not the judicial branch. So you have a limited area where you can affect change, and that is the financial. One of the areas that's been talked about is the issue of the precinct committeeman. Some of that is governed by state statute, some of that is governed by party rule. We met and we actually discussed this issue. A few of you took the time to look into it already when Mr. Glancy brought it to everyone's attention. I'll go outside of my attorney hat for a moment. I was a former county chairman. I know how things have always worked. It doesn't mean it's right, but it's always been done that way. Mr. Glancy has made some excellent points. There's absolutely no reason why these records should not be kept when precinct committeemen are appointed, if for any other reason. So when you know that a caucus comes up, the people running know who the potential voters are. It makes perfect sense. It should be that way. And as if I were a party chairman, which I was in the past, I'm not now, I would think that's very important. So, because there's a statute that says you have to be appointed 30 days before a caucus, or you can't vote if you were appointed 5 days before. So it seems obvious that that should be public information. It shouldn't. It just makes sense. So Mr. Glancy has brought this to the forefront. Unfortunately, I think that's probably only going to change through legislation from the state or the state party changing the rules. You yourself, I don't believe, have any power to change that. The other issue, which was talked about, was Mr. Glancy's lawsuit. We talked about the council and the commissioners, or as Mr. Glancy pointed out, an individual. He's already taken that step. For you to join in, it would also require the commissioner's approval. And what we're talking about is a very specific action. It is the removal of the clerk from office. That is what the statute, and that is what Mr. Glancy was seeking. I don't even think Mr. Glancy is actually seeking that based on what his comments were. I think Mr. Glancy is after accountability, and he's wanting this information to be public, which Makes sense, and I'm sure all of you would agree with that. I think what he's asking is that, I think he realizes he's already filed that lawsuit. I think what he's asking is just a vote of support, which really doesn't have any weight because it's not in your bailiwick as far as what you do. It's just more of a statement. If you decided you wanted to do that, that would certainly be up to you on whether you want to do it or not. Ironically, all of you are also elected Republican officials, and you're also a member of the Republican Party, and you also have standing to maybe cause some change and bring some of these issues to the forefront. Private citizens have already done so, and you know, it is important. It is an important issue. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and there probably should be some change. So if you want to take that vote, absolutely, I think you can. I think it's more symbolism than anything else. So that's that issue. Mr. Schultz had mentioned, and he's been to area plan several times, been to BZA several times with issues, and he's talked about, he continues to refer to me not getting back with him. What he's got to understand is my duty is attorney for the BZA and attorney for area plan. I cannot give him legal advice that contradicts those two boards. My duty is to the board, it is not to him. We've had discussions about issues, and I think the particular issue he's talking about is an appeal that he wanted to do. Well, the Board of Zoning Appeals resolved that issue, so the appeal became moot. I don't think maybe he's understood it, maybe he hasn't, but he continues to say that I have not provided him information, and it's wrong. It's just wrong. It's not my duty as the attorney for the BZA or as the attorney for area plan to give him legal advice potentially against the BZA or the area plan. I think that should be obvious. But so with that said, that's that issue. The first issue is it really is up to you whether you want to do it or not. I'm sure probably all of you would agree with that it should be done. So it's, hopefully that answers those questions and gives a little more light on that issue.
Is there any other questions or comments?
Just 1 minute.
Well, we've already ended the,
Mr. Clitfield just made a comment. One of the comments was in the appeal. Just about 3 weeks ago, I talked to him when he was at Bob Bothwell's house. And he told me he would get back with me some information.
Mr. President, I object to this meeting just becoming a free-for-all.
yeah, Jerry, we've already heard public comment. Thank you.
Everybody's moralized. Tired of it.
Does the members have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I think I'd like to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm a great believer in transparency of government, and that government is the servant of the people and not vice versa. I'm encouraged that in Grant County, more and more people are attending public meetings. That's what I encourage everyone to do, so that you know what your government is doing. Attend public meetings, get their minutes, read them, keep government accountable. That includes me, that includes this body. I'm also hearing a common theme that, and I grew up with this. My father was a police officer, God rest his soul, before he retired and he died. And he was always being asked to do things outside his lane as a police officer. And always had to hear it from people, I'm paying your salary. And if you knew my dad, you probably wouldn't be surprised to know he would pull out 7 cents out of his pocket and offer it to the person making that claim and saying, here you go, here's your year's share of my salary, because it bugged him. But what I'm hearing is people don't understand that we need to stay in our lanes. Certain government officials have certain duties that they must adhere to by law. And Pam is right that they can face personal liability if they step outside that lane. Do officials occasionally step out a little bit in trying to help, senior citizens and so forth that ask them to go further? Yeah, they try. At personal risk, they try. But generally, they shouldn't do that. They need to do what their statutory duties are. And so, I used to be married to one of the recorders. I know what their duties are. And there are private searchers whose jobs are to look for documents that have been recorded. It is not the recorder's job or the persons who work for the recorder to do that for them. And Mr. Glickfield, it makes a good point, and anybody who's been an attorney for a county agency, they get asked to do the same thing. Citizens mistakenly believe that because they are taxpayers and their taxes help go to pay salaries, which includes Mr. Glickfield's salary, which includes the recorder's salary and the clerk's salary, that gives them the license to demand that they do absolutely anything that they are asked to do. That's wrong, that's incorrect, it's illegal. It's just like asking a police officer who stops to give you a ticket, hey, while you're here, can you come over to my neighborhood and clean up the trash? Well, I pay your salary. The laws can be complicated. There are certain laws that explain how you get public records, and I'm a great believer in that. There's the open door law. People call it the Freedom of Information Act, but you know what I'm talking about. It's not easy and it's complicated, but it's necessary, and it's necessary that people follow that to get records, because otherwise government would descend into chaos. Can you imagine all your county offices if they became slaves to every legitimate or illegitimate request that comes in for records? People come in and they think that they can demand that public agencies not just look for records, but create them. I want a summary of all this and this and this and this. Law doesn't require that. It may require them to produce records, and I'm a great believer that government ought to have to produce its own records. Those are your records as the people. You have the right to them. But that's why we have these statutes, which can be complicated and which frankly makes business for people like me, an attorney, because it's not easy to get through sometimes. But it's there for a reason, because if you didn't have it, your recorder would never get anything done recording documents. Your clerk of the courts would never be able to process lawsuits that are coming through, et cetera, et cetera. People have to stay in their own lanes in order to do their jobs correctly. It doesn't mean that they are mean-spirited. It doesn't mean that they don't love you and want to help you as a citizen. It means that their hands are tied. And to mistake their conduct for anything other than that is, to say the least, misinformed. Do I support somebody like Mr. Glancy getting public information? Absolutely. 110%. But it's got to be done in certain ways, and folks may not understand what those certain ways are. Now, this is what we're talking about in this country, is not stopping and standing back a couple of steps and taking a deep breath and having a civil conversation about these things. I am convinced that to a person, to a man and to a woman, the county employees in this county want to help citizens. They just want to be treated decently, and they will try to help you to the best of their ability. And just because you get a no, or I can't do this, or I can't do it within the time frame you're asking, doesn't mean that they're trying to stonewall you. It probably means that they're trying to follow the law to the best of their ability. And I would encourage anybody who thinks the county government is not doing something according to the law, then get a lawyer. Consult a lawyer and make sure it's being done right. Am I doing that as a commercial for lawyers like me? Absolutely not. Am I advocating that county government get sued? Absolutely not. But I am convinced enough that your county employees are trying to do the right thing and trying to help and trying to be transparent that I throw that out there. I would not be afraid of any such lawsuits because our folks try to do the right thing. And I'm sorry that there are people that don't understand that and get disgruntled because they don't immediately get gratification when they make a request to a public employee. So, Mr. Glancy, keep up the good work going after records, for sure. Do it the right way. And, you know, I also agree with what Mr. Glickfield said. A lot of what we're being asked to do here has to do with, it's party things. It's not something that the county council does. Remember what this council does. I've said it, and how many years I've been doing this, but year after year after year. Purse strings, open, close, open, close, open, close. We don't make laws. We don't tell people what to do. We either fund or we don't fund. Mr. Gladfield's right. If we wanted to have a resolution to say this or that, we could. You know, if one of you good folks retire, I'm going to introduce a resolution saying thank you for your service. That's not open or closed purse strings. I'll grant you that. But generally, that's what we do. We're not here to police all the other departments. So I guess that's what I have to say. Just be understanding and be informed.
Are there any other member comments? I've already concluded the public portion, so
I just have a very nice thing to say.
unless the member, do you want to open the public portion back up?
I'm okay if it's not repetitive. Somebody heard that.
Is that okay? I guess we'll go ahead and open the public portion back up.
Thank you. I'm Linda Morgan from Upland. In my job, I've had to diffuse a lot of situations. And I learned very quickly that you get more flies with honey than vinegar. So, Pam, my suggestion would be when someone asks for something, it's important to them. And what you're doing is important to you. I've never heard of searchers. Is that something that you could say to the person requesting something? Say, you know what? We have searchers that can help you. Okay, but I've never heard of it. And so I know sometimes when the person's in the job, they get busy, they get short, and that just makes both sides upset.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all public comment. Any other questions or comments from the members? Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, August the 14th. Meeting adjourned.